Let me tell you about a poker run that shouldn't have happened. No training, no backing, no fancy coaching. Just George Holmes, 49 years old, amateur, from Atlanta. While the pros studied solvers and battled on high-stakes streams, George was playing casual home games with his buddies. He entered the WSOP Main Event on a whim, and somehow made it to day 7. Then disaster hit. One massive hand, gone. His stack, crushed. He was left with just one big blind. That should have been it. But George didn't pack it in. He locked in. And what followed was one of the most insane comebacks in poker history. He didn't just survive, he dominated, eliminated legends, built a mountain of chips, and came this close to taking the whole thing. So here's the question. How do you go from dead last to nearly becoming world champion? The triple up nobody saw coming. Holmes was hanging by a thread, one blind left, zero momentum. But when the cards hit right and his 2-pair held, he tripled up, still short stacked, still in the danger zone. But something had flipped. He wasn't playing scared. He wasn't just hanging on. From this moment on, Holmes wasn't just surviving. He was hunting. 90 minutes of madness. What happened next? Straight up chaos. In the next 90 minutes, Holmes went from 1 blind to 34 million chips. Let that sink in. He took big swings, made fearless moves, and one by one he broke every unspoken rule of how amateurs should play. No laddering up, no waiting for aces, just vibes, instinct, and cold-blooded execution. The commentators were shook. The table didn't know what hit him. George was playing with house money and he wasn't planning to give it back. And he wasn't done. The aces that crushed a pro. Enter Chance Kornuth, a high-stakes beast. 4 World Series of poker bracelets. Millions in tournament cashes. He opens with ace-king. Holmes looks down and finally gets aces. Boom. He 3-bets. Chance doesn't even blink. He jams. And just like that, the pot explodes. The board? Instantly dead. Kornuth is drawing to 0, outside. George just eliminated a poker legend in a massive pot with ice in his veins, from 475,000 to chip leader in a single day. Let that be a lesson. You don't need a resume when your cards and confidence hit at the same time. The final table starts with fire. Now officially in beast mode, Holmes takes his seat at the final table. First hand? He picks up pocket queens, knocks out Jareth East like it's a regular Tuesday. Next hand? He's right back in it versus Henry Park. Holmes flops a huge draw and turns the aggression up to 100, check-raising with 0 chill. He misses the river. But does Holmes back down? Nope. He stays aggressive. He keeps pressuring. And the pros? They're folding. They're sweating. They're wondering how this home game guy is running the show. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a fluke. It was the new normal. The table starts to tilt. As George kept pushing, something strange started happening at the table. Pros who once looked composed now hesitated. Chip leaders second-guessed their plays. Even the rail, filled with fans, friends, and former pros, started to buzz with disbelief. Who was this guy? Every move Holmes made carried weight. It wasn't just aggression, it was precision. He didn't just play hands, he played players. Suddenly, everyone was reacting to him. He wasn't following the rhythm of the game, he was setting it. And for the first time, it felt like the amateurs had more than a seat. They had the power. The bluff heard around the Rio. Picture this. Chip leader opens. Holmes has Queen 3 suited. Most players fold. Holmes? He 3-bets. It gets better. Flop. He hits a flush. He check calls a raise, lets the chip leader keep firing, and just slow plays him into oblivion. No fear, no hesitation, just cold calculation. Later, in another hand, Holmes holds nothing. No pair, no draw. But the moment he senses weakness, he rips a monster bluff, 27 million chips, into the pot. And it works. Even the commentators are stunned. Why is this guy in the pot? Why is he betting this much? Because he can. Holmes wasn't playing like an amateur. He was rewriting what amateur even means. The ultimate payback, Jack Oliver KO'd. Remember Jack Oliver? He's the guy who almost eliminated Holmes back on day 7, when George was down to 1 blind. Well, the tables turned. In a critical final table hand, Holmes calls jacks all in with queen jack suited. Flop comes clean. Turn? George hits his queen. River bricks, jack's out in 3rd place. That's not just a knockout, that's a full circle moment. The man who almost ended Holmes's run gets ended by Holmes, just 2 spots shy of the title. Poker's poetic like that sometimes. The man behind the madness. It's easy to look at a poker table and only see the chips, cards, and math. But behind those sunglasses and hoodies sit people. And George Holmes? He was built different. Off the felt, he worked in finance. Husband, father, grinder. He wasn't chasing clout, he was chasing a dream that most people forget to believe in. He played for his family, for his city, for every home game warrior who ever thought, what if? Every decision, every bluff, every call, it wasn't just about money. It was about proving something. To himself, to the world, to anyone who ever said, you don't belong here. From a chip to almost the crown. He made it. From 1 blind to the final 2. Across the table, Corey Aldemir, a German high roller with experience, calm confidence, and a deep stack. He was the favorite, the professor, the one everyone expected to finish the job, but George Holmes wasn't done, not yet. The fire within. As the final duel began, Holmes had 0 fear. He looked across the table at Aldemir and didn't flinch. He wasn't supposed to be here, but that's exactly why he was dangerous. Holmes started strong, opening light, 3 betting trash, firing barrels without hesitation. At one point, holding 5 deuce, he threw out a bold re-raise and followed up by betting into Aldemir all the way to the river. 40 million chips into the middle. And Aldemir? He folded. This wasn't just aggression, it was control. George had flipped the script. They clashed for hours, back and forth, hand after hand. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't pretty, but it was electric. George didn't just belong, he was owning the moment. The final hand. Then came the one that sealed it all. Holmes opened with king-queen. Aldemir called with 10-7 of diamonds. Flop, 10 and 7. Aldemir hit top 2 pair. Holmes had nothing. Turn, a king. Enough to give George hope, and just enough to drag him deeper into the trap. Aldemir bet. Holmes called. The river changed nothing. Holmes paused, then shoved everything. All his chips, all his heart, all his history. Aldemir tanked, read the table, then finally, call. It was over. Holmes stood, no anger, no regret, just quiet dignity. He played to win, and he nearly did. The legacy. George Holmes didn't walk away with a bracelet, but he walked away with $8 million in prize money. And something even more rare, respect. He came in as an unknown, no patch, no coach, just a man with heart, instinct, and that Mamba mindset. From 1 big blind to the final hand. From home games with his friends to the biggest stage in the world. And along the way, he reminded every dreamer watching, you don't have to be a pro. You don't need a bankroll. You just need to believe it's possible. Because sometimes the most dangerous player at the table is the one no one saw coming. Poker is a game of math, odds, and discipline. But sometimes it's about something much deeper. It's about grit, nerve, the ability to stare down a giant with nothing but a gut feeling and still go all in. From Phil Ivey's chilling reads to George Holmes' fearless climb. These players showed us that the greatest weapon at the table isn't always the cards. It's the mind behind the chips. Because when the pressure's at its highest, when millions are on the line, and the whole world is watching, only the sharpest instincts and coldest blood survive. Want more epic hands, smart plays, and big poker moments? Subscribe to the channel and don't miss what's next. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and let us know in the comments. Which hand was your favorite?